I think he actually has had about 15 shots of get me the heck out of here over the last 2 years. But, I mean, look, Johnathan Papelbon didn't change from Boston, okay? You knew when you were signing him what you were getting. You were getting a guy who's going to speak his mind, who's not afraid to say things that may upset the apple cart, who can wear out his welcome. We saw that up at Boston and with the Red Sox. So, my belief on this is that, he says it, and to me, maybe I'm just from being around him now for 4 years, I kind of shrug. Okay, it's in my mind, it's nothing that we haven't heard before, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I blame Papelbon at this point anymore because he still performs. He's one of the best players on this team. Take it for what that's worth. And if I blame more the Phillies for the fact that they gave him a contract that is obsolete because of their position, and for to be bluntly honest, they knew what they were signing, which was a mercenary.
Yeah, I think that's a good take in terms of if this guy was not performing, then you would look at what he's saying and say, then he's half-assing it. But it seems that he still performs, even though it's kind of like, hey, I don't feel like a Philly, and whatever that means, it's read into it what you will, but I think you're right. I think this is Papelbon showing that, hey, I'm still out there performing. Whether I want to be here or not, I'm still doing my job.
Right, and Mike, here's the other part of this, okay? I think, I think we both have known players that when a reporter comes up from a city that they used to be in, thinks he's playing to their audience, okay? And quite frankly, I'm not sure these guys are fully aware that, word travels anymore. When you say something to the Boston Globe, it's usually out there that night on a website and picked up even by the time you get in a game, which is what happened with this story. So I'm not saying that I think they're naive in a sense, and I think sometimes they say stuff to, reporters, if it's a one-on-one interview like that was, they say stuff to kind of, play up to the hometown fan, that's
right,
going to read the article in their mind. So I think that's part of it. So that's why I kind of shrug it off. To me, the bigger concern is Ken Giles at this point, after what's going on here in the last 3 weeks with Ken Giles. Papelbon is Papelbon, and, he's going to be like this, and I kind of shrug it off at this point.
Yeah, I know Giles said he's okay. What did you see last night that has you somewhat concerned?
All right, what I'm concerned is the basics here. All right, yeah, he got up to 97 at that one stretch. I think it was on the Ortiz at bat, okay? Then he dipped right back to 93. He had control problems before. He had control problems in the minor leagues before last year. He had more control problems last night. He just doesn't look like the same. And the difference in my mind, when you're throwing 100 and you're throwing an 87 slider, that's a huge difference. When you're throwing 94 and you're throwing an 87 slider, you're not really giving a hitter a different look. So, in that sense, there's a lot to be concerned. And I fault Ryan Sandberg in this sense that, it was a cold night last night. You're having a guy who's coming off of back problems. He did not look sharp on Saturday in the final game of the On Deck series. He hasn't looked sharp all year. Sandberg mentioned about the velocity and how they've been concerned about the velocity and that it's not there. Okay, so why you let him throw 31 pitches then? There's where my concern is. And it's just, to me, this guy is too valuable to just let him go out there, and if he's injured or just not up to snuff, let him go out in a cold night and throw and risk more of an injury. That's where I have the problem.
Kevin Cooney's with us, Calkins Media, the Bucks County Courier-Times with the Phillies last night. Obviously, Papelbon's comments have kind of taken over. And, the fans kind of, Phillies fans especially, you don't want to be with us, they kind of turn on you pretty quickly. But baseball or sports fans in general, is it refreshing to hear him kind of say, look, I don't want to be here, we stink, and I don't feel like I'm a part of this organization. and then he actually backtracked on it later, as you said. Maybe he didn't think those comments were getting out there, but he kind of acted like, well, I never said that. I mean, then he was doing the whole routine with what is a Philly. I mean, he kind of made a mockery of the whole, situation, I thought.
Well, and that's kind of like, we want our athletes to be honest.
Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
Talk about that, right? So he's being honest. If he feels that way, he's being honest. And there are other guys in that locker room, I'm sure, who are probably thinking, you know what, get me the hell out of here. I mean, because of the fact that this team's going nowhere. The organization has made it clear that they're not going to contend, and that there's pretty much a price tag on everybody. I mean, from Hamels on down. So, to me, I can't fault him for saying, you know what, I want to get out of here. Now, there are some things about his, he always has this affinity for Boston. And I think sometimes it's almost like the relationship that, you break off and then a year or two later you go, wow, my ex-girlfriend was really good, for me. In a sense where he's more wistful about it. But remember, they made no effort to re-sign this guy. None. And he was a homegrown product and all that. They saw where the market was going, but they also knew he was a pain in the rear end. So, I mean, at that point, I think that says it all. And I think he's getting a little more of a fondness for what he had, a little sentimentality, and maybe it was actually like back in Boston.
No doubt, and we'll see if the reaction tonight, if he gets called into the game, is a pleasant one for Mr. Papelbon. I'm sure he doesn't care, as the Phillies looking to make it 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox at Citizens Bank Park. Kevin Cooney with the Phillies, obviously, early stages of the seasons, but maybe not a lot of wins, Kevin, but plenty of drama always.
Always. It's funny that Papelbon's such a big wrestling fan, and he's really taken the heel role very well. Next thing I know, he's going to, just come out with the Ric Flair, strut coming out of the bullpen.
That should be his entrance music when he gets summoned from the bullpen now. A little woo.
Well, he does have the limousine riding jet flying part from as his entrance music. So it's pretty interesting.
Very cool. All right, Kevin. Appreciate the time, buddy.
No problem, Mike.